I completely agree. Like, I think what the point that you pointed out that with baby-led weaning, most of the time you're seeing Caucasian or Western families doing it, and you don't really see a lot of Indian families where they are letting the child self-feed. That itself, like, kind of can take away that confidence that, like, am I okay to do that? Another thing is like the education that we get around starting solids. Where is it coming from primarily? It's coming from our doctors and it's coming from our family members. And with my, let's say, with my mom, I mean, she started my daughter on dal ka pani. How is she supposed to have that knowledge about baby led weaning? And same thing with doctors as well. I think that's what they are recommending. They're like, okay, do this puree, that puree, because that is the information that they have about starting solids. So tell me, Sanchita, is this a new thing? Is this why so many people don't know about it or hasn't been around for a while? Why is it that only now in the last few years we have been finding out about this?
So it's so funny because everyone's like, baby led weaning is an Instagram trend. And in a way, it is a trend of the whole idea of self feeding. Because if we look at back in the day, the generations before, it was just done that, parents would spoon feed their child. Yes, they did a bit of baby led weaning in the sense that they were offering foods from the family pot. Purees weren't necessarily being made of everything. So if like a chicken curry was being made or if dal was being made, before the salt was added, parents would just give that to their baby. But they were still kind of being spoon fed. It's just now in the last 10 years or so, what's been happening is that spoon feeding, people have been realizing it's being done wrong. So this is why baby led weaning has gotten popular. Now, why has spoon feeding been done wrong? Because what's been happening is that babies will take 2 bites, they happily open their mouth, suddenly they shut their mouth, and parents panic. How can my baby have only 2 bites? That's when the forcing, the TV, the toys, the books, all of that comes in, and the baby's forced to open their mouth while they're looking at a toy, and we're just trying to shove food in their mouth with the spoon feeding. And after a point, babies are like, what's happening? This is not for me. I don't enjoy it. And the picky eating starts as well. And the other thing, that the issue with spoon feeding is that babies don't see food. Because with spoon feeding, and I'm sure we've all done this, like you hold the bowl of whatever it is and you just feed your baby. And then suddenly when your baby turns one, you give them a piece of broccoli and they're like, what is this? And I'm not touching
Yeah.
it. So the reason baby led weaning has gotten popular now is because when you follow this practice, the baby has to put the food in their mouth. So there's no forcing happening and they see the food. The food is in front of them. So, so a lot of parents who do baby led weaning, they'll take their kid to a restaurant and that baby will pick up a broccoli happily. They're not going to think like, ew, what's that green thing? So I could say it's a bit of a trend, but I think it's a positive trend because it is making parents start to question that, is the way I am offering my child food the right way for their long term benefits? So, this is why parents are starting to delve into baby led weaning. And that's honestly why I do what I do. And I've noticed it's not even about the babies, it's about really helping the parents feel confident in this decision to change their approach from that spoon feeding, which we've grown up on, which our parents have grown up on as well.
Amazing. Like, I think that's kind of what we need to keep in mind, that for baby led weaning, it's correcting certain behaviors that came about from doing spoon feeding incorrectly, and it's giving control to your baby. So tell me something, Sanchita. Let's say if I'm a mom with a 6-month-old baby,
Yeah.
let's say I could dial back time, go back to a time when my
Yeah.
child was only 6 months old, just about to start solids, and I come to you and I ask you, how should I do it? What would your advice be? Do we do baby led weaning? Do we do spoon feeding? Do we do a combination? What should we do?
So, look, baby led weaning obviously is the ideal because in an ideal scenario, you put the food in front of the baby, they decide, they play with it, they decide how much goes in their mouth, and they're building that skill. We give them time. But realistically, especially for Indian parents who are living in joint families, we have a certain upbringing about this pressure of food and quantity, it's hard. Baby led weaning is hard. So, what I like to do with a lot of parents is a combination approach. So, what we do is, offering both, there's nothing wrong with purees. So, it's okay. It's okay to offer your child a puree. You don't have to feel bad about it. But what we do is we offer puree and then offer the same food in like a finger food form so that your baby can see what it looks like. So, if you're giving carrot, prepare the puree and then offer the carrot finger food. But what's nice and what's really, really encouraging for kids to enjoy meal times is instead of doing spoon feeding, you let them eat the purees themselves as well. So what you do is, and I love these small self-feeding spoons that you get now, you just preload the spoon and you give it to your baby in their hand and let them practice putting it in their mouth. And that is just, and a lot of parents are just nervous because they don't feel their child can do it. But let me tell you, as a nutritionist, once your child is 6 months and they can sit with minimal support and they're grabbing teethers and putting it in their mouth, they can take the spoon and put it in their mouth. And that's what so many of the parents I've worked with are doing. And it's so beautiful. And I think that's why it's also become an Instagram trend, because everyone's so fascinated to watch these videos of babies actually putting things in their mouth. Like, guys, it is possible. And for so many parents, it's like, wow, my baby can actually do it. So you don't have to do strict baby led weaning in the terms of, okay, only foods from the family pot, because it's also been nerve wracking. Like, okay, is this masala okay? Is, like, but you can take it a bit simple, but just make sure your baby can see food and try and make them eat it themselves, even with the puree.
Thank you for that explanation. Like, I wish I had this advice back when I was starting solids. It would have just made things so much easier. It would have improved the feeding journey that I had with my daughter. And you know what? That thing about like watching babies eat on their own. Because I'll tell you, when we started baby led weaning in the beginning, I was genuinely very doubtful of it because there was so much food throwing that was happening and so much messes. She was putting food in her hair, and it was giving me a lot of anxiety. It was giving my
Yeah.
mom and my mom-in-law a lot of anxiety. They're like, she's barely eating anything. Why don't you just pick up the spoon and feed her? And then I was like, I was resisting the urge to do it. But it took a few months and a lot of practice. But once she got to a stage where she could pick up the food, right? She could feed herself, where she could start using utensils on her own as early as 1 year old. Everybody was amazed by it, including myself. Like, I was
Yeah.
amazed that like my baby was able to do it, and everybody else was like, how is your child doing this? How did you teach her this? And I said, it's just about trusting your baby that they can do it. Developmentally, if they have the hand eye mouth coordination to be able to bring a toy to their mouth, why can't they bring a spoon to their mouth? They can do it. Right? You just need to let them do it and be free with it. But you know what? One thing that does scare me about baby led weaning, which I did get a lot of criticism for as well, was offering the finger food. The self feeding with the spoon, that was fine, because with the bigger foods, my dad told me this, and he's a doctor, and he said you are endangering your child by offering these really large pieces of food, which is, we are offering her like the half a banana, or we've got a big avocado veg, or I'm giving her a massive strawberry to like kind of gnaw on. She said, what if she chokes on it? And I used to be like, oh my god, yeah, what if she chokes on it? And I was really scared of it. So tell me, Sanchita, like, is this really a risk with baby led weaning? Is it safe to offer these big finger foods to our babies?
So, so what fear your dad had in that sense was actually what most parents hesitate in terms of starting with baby led weaning, because most parents say, my child will choke, I'm too scared, I don't know how to handle it. But it's so interesting to see that when you actually look at the statistics, there is no difference in the choking risk when you're offering your child safe finger foods versus offering them purees. And this is because we need to offer our child a finger food that they can actually navigate in their mouth. So choking, fortunately, is actually very rare with babies because they are sitting upright. We are offering them a safe finger food. They are putting it in their mouth themselves, so their body is able to navigate it. It happens when you offer a choking hazard. So if you offer something that's round that can roll to the back, if you offer something that's slippery that can slip from the hand, if you offer something hard that their gums cannot, chew and soften, or if you offer something that is sticky, those are the main choking hazards. So now what parents are doing is they're offering stick-shaped pieces of food that you can squish easily between your fingers. So if your baby bites a piece off, remember their gag reflex is in front of their mouth. So that's going to stop food from going to the back. The brain's going to get a signal, activate the gag reflex, and you will see your baby is gagging. They will cough, they're loud, they turn red. A lot of parents think that's actually choking, but choking is when it gets stuck in the throat, they turn blue and you can't hear them. So gagging is they're loud, they're red, they're coughing, and you will see babies will spit out the food, or they will move it to the side and the saliva will come in and it will melt in their mouth. So for parents, it's very important to understand the difference and know that it's totally safe to offer these finger foods. We just need to educate ourselves in how to prepare a safe finger food. And even with a lot of parents, I say, look, take your time. If you're nervous, start with puree, start with the idea of self feeding. So you're already on the right track of your child being in control. And then when you're ready, you can start with the finger foods. You don't have to be starting with both at the same time. So really do what you're comfortable with. But I do want you as a parent to challenge yourself a little bit to make changes from that traditional feeding method that we're used to. But you take your time with it. And a lot of parents now, there's so many CPR courses also available online. So I tell parents to take that course because I feel as parents we're nervous about what's the worst that can happen. But if you prepare yourself, if you do the right things, it's quite a beautiful experience to see what our kids are capable of.